Good morning. It was another really busy week in energy and a lot of stories for you again. First one, government agencies are not the only ones that are grappling with the fallout from that SolarWinds hack, perhaps the most significant U.S. cyber intrusion to date. As the effects of that become more and more apparent, it's pretty clear that not only was it the U.S. government agencies like the DOE, etc., and national labs that were affected, DHS and others, but the utilities as well. Experts indicate that many utilities have been impacted, so now they're on the quest to find out if and how much damage has potentially occurred in their systems. The problem is the adversary's been in place now in advanced persistent threat mode since probably March. You may recall that December 2015 incident in the Ukraine that took out 3 utilities, over 200,000 customers for 6 hours. That thing started in May with the first borrowing in of the hackers into the systems, ultimately getting into SCADA and opening up breakers across the system, causing those widespread outages, followed a year later by a smaller incident that actually was more serious in many ways. This is a real serious deal, and we have to take it as such. Switching gears, VW announced it's going to invest heavily in EVs. We know that, but it also announced it's converting its main plant in Wolfsburg into a model factory for highly automated production of EVs, which will also include updated software. This is meant to be the flagship EV model coming out of there, and it's supposed to also have better batteries. But while they're at it, VW may want to look downstream at its dealerships. Greenpeace launched a secret buyers effort to go and see how well prepared these VW dealerships were with respect to EVs, and found that of the 50 they visited, adopting a uniform customer profile where they said, we don't take daily trips no longer than 125 miles, we have a garage, etc., and we have a budget, most importantly. In 27 of those 50 cases, VW dealers recommended internal combustion engines, and only 8 cases did they push VW's ID3. The problem may be compensation. We do what we're paid to do. The basic issue here is the commission for selling internal combustion engines, roughly 14% versus 6% commission for the EVs. Switching gears but staying in that space, contemporary Amperex Technologies, CATL, the Chinese battery giant, indicated it plans to invest $5 billion in Indonesia in a battery factory to be ready by 2024. Why Indonesia? Well, among other things, the government's made a commitment to turning it into an EV manufacturing hub, but perhaps more importantly is the fact that they, in Indonesia, have about 25% of known nickel deposits, which is a critical material in the lithium-ion battery, especially as those battery chemistries migrate away from higher percentages of cobalt. Switching gears yet again, GE, it has this 12-megawatt Haliade offshore wind platform. Then they announced they upscaled it to 13 megawatts for a recent project. Now they've announced again they're going to upscale it yet a second time, this to 14 megawatts for the UK Dogger Bank C project. Bloomberg New Energy Finance's 2020 battery price survey is out. Lithium-ion battery pack prices fell from $1,100 per kilowatt hour in 2010, 89% in real terms, to about $137 per kWh in 2020. Within 3 years, Bloomberg expects that average prices should be close to that magic number of $100 per kilowatt hour, and some battery packs in China, for e-buses in particular, are already below that threshold. At this $100 price point, it's expected mass market EVs compete with internal combustion engines at the same price and same margins. Volkswagen, pay attention, in many markets without subsidies. This virtual cycle of new cathode chemistries and falling manufacturing costs will further drive prices down in the near term. So as we count down to the end of 2020, where does this leave us? Well, an interesting data point from analyst IHS Markit estimates that over the next 5 years, the globe will invest $1.3 trillion in clean energy, soaring to about 18% of total worldwide electricity supply. By 2023, IHS forecasts global wind and solar together will outpace natural gas in installed capacity and catch up to coal in the following year. PV is seen as the leading sector at about 54% of new investment at a total of around $700 billion. Offshore wind follows next at cumulative investments about $170 billion. And then onshore wind capex slows to around $320 billion. We're seeing progress across many fronts. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.